to my YouTube channel. My name is Greg. In this video, I will use my ability to understand many different perspectives from the point of view of others, which allows me to see the whole picture to thoroughly decode all parts of manifestation. Now, you may be wondering, where am I getting this information? Which is a fair question. Now, as an intuitive introvert, INFJ, empath, Pisces, whatever you're comfortable calling it, I innately can take a fragment of information from any source, park that information, and then add to it over time using fragments of information from other sources, which then eventually forms the whole picture. You'll get a better idea of one way I use that process in my next 2 videos as I go through how fragments of information are hidden in plain sight. Also, I listed some YouTube channels that have been helpful in my journey in the description below. Now, in this video, I'll start by explaining all the rules for creating what you want to manifest using examples from my experience. Then I'll explain how the system of manifestation works. Finally, I'll discuss how you can get your creation to show up and manifest itself in your life. Okay, the first rule for creating what you want to manifest is that you can't manifest hurting someone. The universe won't manifest causing someone pain or take someone's health away. So you're on your own on that one. Which brings me to my next rule for creation. You can't take anything away from someone. An example from my personal experience is that I pay my ex, a local business owner, alimony. No matter how much energy I give to that effort, the law of manifestation will not make that payment go away. Now, that doesn't mean it won't happen someday, but more than likely not. Okay, now continuing with that example, what I can do is try to find more income, which brings me to my next rule for creation, which ties into the last one. The universe doesn't operate in duality when it comes to manifesting. Words like more or less have no meaning when it comes to manifestation. Another common example of this is when a person's creation is to lose weight. Just draw an X through the word lose, and what the universe recognizes is that the person is focused on weight. Weight goes up, weight goes down. It's all the same in the universe. The universe is just giving that person what they want based on where they're placing most of their attention. In those cases, weight is the focus of their reality. In my case, income would be the focus. Income goes up, income goes down. It's all the same energy to the universe. I would have to change the focus to something like, I want a specific amount of money a year from a different income source. This brings me to my next rule for creation, the 3 trap words that you cannot absolutely ever use. Want, try, and hope, as well as any variation of those. You see, the universe only operates in the present. So if I want more money, the universe will give me more want. If I hope to make more money, I will only get more hope. And if I'm trying to get more money, the focus is on trying and not having in the present. Also, this applies to phrases like, I'm going to find a good second income. That's something off into the future, and the universe doesn't recognize it as valid. So now I would have to change my creation to, I believe there are income sources that pay, and then put all of my income numbers together that I expect to make. this brings me to the next rule of creation. Be specific. There are tons of income sources that pay that, but not necessarily any that I would enjoy doing. I do not want to be financially okay and miserable, so I have to be specific. I might change my creation to, I believe there are income sources for me where I do what I enjoy. I would kind of fill in with the specific things I enjoy here that pay whatever the number ends up being. Now, that brings me to my last rule for creation. Once I've narrowed it down using all the other rules, I have to ask myself, what is it that I'm really looking for? Is it physical money? What does that money really represent? Now, in my case, it represents freedom from my ex's control. So what I'm really wanting to manifest is freedom, or the feeling of freedom. So my final creation might look something like, I believe I feel free and that there are income sources for me where I can do the things I enjoy. Again, being as specific as possible here, that pay the number I'm looking to make. So just make sure you keep narrowing down what you want until it aligns with all the rules for creation. One side note about creation though, once you've created what you want, there's no putting it back in the box. So you must avoid what I heard someone in the recovery call shoulding all over yourself. Telling yourself, I should be happy or I should be more grateful will only derail your manifestation efforts. Remember, it's okay to ask for and have what you want. It's your life. Okay, now that you know all the rules for creating what you want, and before I explain how to manifest that creation, I'm going to explain how the system actually works. So first, the mechanics. Nothing can be manifested unless it complies with a specific, energetic, mathematical, geometrical pattern. It has to be a toroidal geometrical pattern expressed with the Fibonacci sequence, also known as sacred geometry. That includes everything from an atom to a planet. So, sorry flat earthers, a flat planet is not mechanically possible in this universe. But I can definitely understand why you would want to question any of the scientific facts that we were taught. Okay, when you create what you want using thought, that creation then has a frequency. If that frequency is given enough energy, it becomes a harmony. If that harmony is sustained, it creates standing waves. Those standing waves then form a node. A node is an energetic concentration point. The node, if given enough energy, then forms atoms. And of course, those atoms then form molecules. Again, if given enough energy. The molecules are what then form our creation. So everything is created from thought. Now I will discuss how the different types of consciousness work in the manifestation process. Keep in mind that your unconscious mind is communicating with the etheric field, which also means it's communicating with you at the soul level. Now, your beliefs, all the things you actually believe in, come from your unconscious mind. Those beliefs from your unconscious mind are what influence your emotions. Your emotions come from the subconscious mind. Your emotions are what influence your thoughts. Your thoughts are generated from the conscious mind. So your thoughts and feelings together from your subconscious and conscious mind determine your frequency. Your frequency determines the speed of your vibration, which is how fast you physically vibrate at the atomic level. The speed of your vibration determines how expanded your consciousness will be and the reality you will perceive. Once your vibration increases to match what you have created to manifest, then your heart, which is an electromagnetic generator, transmits the higher frequency out into the ether. That higher frequency then attracts to you what you've created. That's called the law of attraction, and that law governs the universe. So the process all starts with your beliefs. If you want to manifest anything of a higher vibration, you have to genuinely align your beliefs. If you don't align your beliefs, all the other parts of the system will continue to function with whatever your current beliefs are as the foundation. If in my example, I don't believe that I feel free, then none of the other parts of what I want to create will manifest. Okay, the next thing to always keep in mind is that once you create something, it exists as potential energy. You turn potential energy into something physical by feeding it consistent energy. Your thoughts and emotions are that energy. So you have to consistently feed your creation energy with your thoughts and emotions, in addition to having your beliefs aligned. You manifest what's in your attention the most. That's what is meant by the saying, we manifest who we are, not what we want. So who we are for left-brainers is literal, and who we are for right-brainers consists of our thoughts and feelings. Now that you know how the system works for manifesting what you want, I'm going to explain some different ways to actually bring your creation about. First, I'll explain it from perspective of left-brainers or mechanical thinkers. Think of everything past, present, and future as a giant number grid. All the numbers in the columns represent past, present, and future. Also, all the numbers in the grid are mathematically compatible. If you change any number in the grid, all the numbers in the grid will change so that they all can remain mathematically compatible. If you total up each column, the average of those numbers equals your current frequency. Whatever column that number matches is the timeline you're going to be on, and thus the series of events you will experience. Once you create a new series of events that you want to manifest, all the numbers in the grid change, including your present frequency. As a side note, all the decisions you didn't make are also included in the grid and also contribute to determining your current frequency. Now, you must adjust the numbers in the grid so that your current frequency matches the frequency of the one you just created. You do that by changing things in your daily routine. Start with small things. Get up in the morning at a different time, drive to work a different way each day, eat different foods, dress differently. In a sense, be unpredictable. When you do this, your true beliefs about what you want will start to make themselves known. You might start telling yourself, this is ridiculous. Why am I doing this? And that's where you can start asking yourself, why don't I believe this will work? What is holding me back? At that point, you can start to really work with your beliefs to align them with the numbers of your creation on your grid. Remember that you are not trying to control the process, but only tune into it by raising your beliefs to a higher numerical value. By raising your beliefs to a higher numerical value, you will then allow the system for manifestation to work. Okay, now right brainers or emotional thinkers, once you create what you want to manifest, you first have to visualize the whole picture of what the creation would be. By the whole picture, I mean what you would be doing, what you would be eating, where you'd be living, etc. So visually, everything that would be happening if your manifestation were now. Next, how would you act if you had what you created right now? What kind of person would you be? How would you treat people, etc.? And lastly, what would it feel like if you had what you created right now? Now, there's an important distinction to make here. This can't be what you see other people acting like, or how other people treat people, even how you think they feel. This has to be how you would be if you had what you created right now. A good example is, let's say you wanted to move up to a management position in your current job. You see your current manager acting shallow and unempathetic on a daily basis in an effort to prioritize increasing his overall sales numbers. You notice that person is having a lot of success within the company, but you are more of an empathetic, caring person. If you started acting like that manager, you would actually lower your frequency and move farther away from what you created, because it's not in alignment with who you are. So very important, how would you be if you were that person today? Now, for you, as you start to walk towards what you create, your feelings are going to guide you as to what your true beliefs really are. And the same as the left brainers, you are not trying to control the manifestation process, only tune into it. This might show up as you feel like maybe you aren't worthy of a managerial position because you don't have enough experience. So you find a way to overcome that feeling. The next part of manifestation is to align your physical environment with what you're trying to create. You want your environment to match the frequency of what you're trying to manifest. If you're trying to manifest something simple like popcorn, for example, you can't just sit on the couch with your hand out waiting for it to appear. At some point, you're going to have to go where the popcorn is or have the popcorn available in your environment. Now, most people are like, well, that's just me going to the store and getting popcorn, not manifesting. But remember, from an expanded perspective, you are the creator. So you created that store with that popcorn, even if you're sharing that creation with others. Think of it this way. If you never went to that store, it would not exist in your reality. So it's important to do what you can to make your physical environment match your creation. Now, another very important point when it comes to manifesting is that because everything is created from the same potential energy, you have to free yourself from the idea that manifesting something like a house is more difficult than manifesting our popcorn that we mentioned earlier. The size and scope of what you're trying to manifest does not affect the difficulty. There may be more steps involved when it comes to acquiring a house, but that doesn't make it harder to manifest. A good way to visualize this is to recall the scene in The Empire Strikes Back where Luke was whining about how much more difficult it was to manipulate his aircraft as opposed to the rocks he was practicing with. Then Yoda showed him the only difference was his belief that it was more difficult. Once your beliefs, frequency, and environment align with your creation, there are two more actions to take that might at first seem contradictory. First, you must let go of all of the ideas of how what you are trying to manifest will happen. If you think about my earlier example, I started wanting to add to my current income. I am willing to manifest any career opportunity that aligns with my creation. So you must remain open to all possibilities. The second is that you have to walk towards what you want physically. In the astral, you can manifest anything instantly. In the higher densities, like 5D, you can manifest what you want a little bit faster. So you can wait for it to come to you. But here in the thick, soupy third density, you have to go after what you want. How can you be open to all the possibilities and walk towards it? By following your intuition and ensuring you always feel like you're going with the flow and not paddling upstream. Also, you have to allow yourself to be wrong and change directions. Sometimes we discover which path is correct by first revealing the wrong path. Lastly, since the universe is forever locked in the present, your demeanor has to imply that your creation has already happened. The best example of what this looks like is in the Harry Potter movie, The Half-Blood Prince. In it, Harry, after failing many times to get the information he needed from one of the professors, took a liquid luck potion. Then, while carrying himself like he knew he would get the information, because he took the potion, he put himself in a position to receive that info. And of course, the information was indeed given to him by the professor without him even asking for it. Again, I know it's just a movie, but it is an excellent visual of how this part of the process should work. I heard a good story about manifesting from another YouTube channel the other day. When you start driving, your GPS gives you directions with the destination in mind. The first street you turn on is not the street you end up on. If you make a wrong turn, you'll be rerouted and just find another way there. But you'll never get there if you don't start driving. And if all else fails, as we say in the recovery circles, fake it till you make it. Thank you for letting me be a part of your journey. Join me in the next video as I decode something that is absolutely not what you currently think it is. Bloodlines. It's actually going to be a two-parter where it will delve into current events surrounding Diddy and Epstein. It's going to be intense. I'll see you then. Peace.